You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On Syracuse. In case you guys can't tell, my voice is a little bit hoarse. I was streaming for a lot of this game for good reason. A lot of it was celebration, which was terrific. Let's talk about our signal caller. This might have been the final time that we watched Kyle McCord play in a Syracuse uniform. It might. And man, did he go out on a high note. Oh, he did. 26 of 36, 380, and 3 touchdowns. I think Ohio State wishes they still had this guy. Don't you think? Did you watch that game earlier today, Michigan, Ohio State? I think they wish Kyle McCord was still their guy. And look, Ohio State's going to be in the college football playoff, I think, at 10-2. I don't see how they drop from second in the country to out of the playoff. I guess it could happen, but it's very unlikely. I think they wish they had Kyle McCord right now. Man, he was unbelievable. This game, he had, like I said in the lead up, he had one throw. One poor decision all game long. He had one poor decision and maybe 1 or 2 inaccurate throws. But you really have to nitpick. We can go to the poor decision that he made. It was at the end of the first half. Syracuse is down 21-14. They get a stop on defense. And they have the ball and they're looking to double dip. What does double dip mean? It means you score at the end of the half. Then there's the half. And then you score coming out of the next half. And why does this occur? It's because you're getting the ball to start the next half. And so therefore you can double dip. You can score twice before the other team even gets to touch the ball again. So Syracuse is looking to do exactly that. And Kyle McCord throws an outbreaking route. And Mish Powell of Miami reads it really well. He's watching the eyes of Kyle McCord. He jumps the route. He honestly could have taken it back to the house. And man, that would have been a changer. But he drops it. I talked about it in the lead up. You maybe get one chance. That's all you get. He'll give you one. One ball in harm's way. Miami could not take advantage. That was such a critical play. If Mish Powell, even if he doesn't run that back for a touchdown, right? Let's say he catches the ball and he gets tackled, like right away. Well, they're set up still near field goal range. And with the way that Miami was moving on offense, the least that was going to occur, they're going to go up 24-14 at the half. So it's a 2-score game. But no, he drops it. They even could have gone up 28-14, knowing Miami's explosive offense and the fact that the one thing that Syracuse really couldn't stop all game long on defense was the middle of the field with Xavier Restrepo. They couldn't stop him. That was such a critical play that went in Syracuse's favor. He gave you one, and they couldn't take advantage because the rest of the game, absolutely flawless. Absolutely flawless. I have nothing else to say about him. He's the first 4,000-yard passer in Syracuse history. Folks, he might have just put together the greatest single season in Syracuse football history from the quarterback position. I know that in the comment section, you guys might say, well, what about Don McPherson, 1987, right? That team was 11-0-1. Could have won the Heisman that year. Probably should have won the Heisman that year. And I know you have to adjust for the era that you play in. The guy was 4,000 yards, had upper 60s in completion percentage. He finished with 29 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and 5 of the 12 interceptions came in one game. He led the league in passing yards in the college football regular season. It's not going to hold up because the guys behind him are going to be in the college football playoff. They're going to be playing in conference championship games. They have more games, so they'll catch Kyle McCord. He won't end up leading the nation in passing yards, but he will lead the nation in passing yards per game. What a season. I am a Kyle McCord fan. I was a fan going into the season. I was someone that repeatedly said that I think he was a victim of the circumstances at Ohio State. This is not a shot at Ohio State here, but it's the reality. It tells the whole Kyle McCord story. He's a 5-star recruit at Ohio State. He sits behind multiple NFL guys. The 3 guys that came before Kyle McCord, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud. They're all first-round NFL draft picks to varying degrees of success in the NFL, but they were dominant in college football. Those were Heisman Trophy candidates in college football. First-round NFL picks. And Kyle McCord, maybe you can put him in that category honestly now, but heading into this year, he was not in that category. He was not a first-round NFL draft pick, but he was still really good. And he also took a lot of flack for not beating Michigan. CJ Stroud couldn't beat him twice, and Will Howard didn't do it today. He's not the only one. But it's a big deal at Ohio State if you can't beat Michigan. And he threw the game-losing interception in that one. And they were also a victim of the fact that it was a 4-team playoff. And there were 7 teams for 4 spots that year. An unprecedented year. The year before with CJ Stroud, they're in the exact same situation. They finished 11-1. And they made the college football playoff despite losing to Michigan because there weren't as many teams to be qualified for it. But he comes to Syracuse, and I had high hopes for him. I said he would be second-team All-ACC. He's probably going to be second-team All-ACC in all likelihood. I'd be surprised if he's not. Maybe it will be Kevin Jennings at SMU, but even then, I think that's a stretch. And he puts together a season for the ages. He wasn't perfect all year. He had a stinker against Pitt, but there's really not much to complain about with him. I wouldn't say he carried Syracuse, but he was certainly Syracuse's best player, their most important player. He stayed healthy all season, which is a big deal. And he was the perfect leader for this team. He's someone from Ohio State. He gets it. He gets it. And he was the guy who can find and unlock Syracuse's passing weapons. Trebor Pena with a breakout season with 6 catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown only today, but he had a fantastic year. Jackson Meeks, 7 for 110, 2 touchdowns. Every game for Jackson Meeks, like Trebor Pena, feels like a career high for him because he didn't do all that much at Georgia heading into this season. Oronde Gadsden only had 4 catches for 50 yards in this game, but Miami was keying on him the entire game. You can tell how much he opens up the field for the other Syracuse receivers. But they had the perfect field general to get them the ball in Kyle McCord. I also would like to shout out the offensive line for Syracuse football today. They played the best game of their season. The best game they played all season. Miami got some pressure in the beginning of the game to the point where I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to hold up. I don't. But from the first quarter on, they opened up running lanes, right? LeQuint Allen, I mean, the stats don't show it, but he was getting good chunk plays. He just didn't have the explosive run. His longest run today was 11 yards, but he finished with 22 carries for 82 yards. 3.7 per carry isn't great, but he didn't have the monster 60-yard run that will inflate your yards per carry. So that's actually pretty good. Yassine Willis, he did have the fumble, but he had 3 carries for 20 yards. And I know that he had that fumble, but when he was running, he looked pretty good. And he's a future piece for Syracuse football. He's only a true freshman. And Kyle McCord, I don't think he got sacked all that much. I'm trying to find it right here. It was maybe only a couple of times in this game. But Miami couldn't generate a lot of pressure on him, which is what they needed to do. So you keep Kyle McCord upright. Thank you to the offensive line. You open up running lanes. You're able to run the football at a decent clip. You got explosive weapons, and they exposed the Miami defense, which I thought would play better, but they didn't. And the Orange win this game 42-38.